I get rushed to the ICU after having an intense labor to give birth to my baby for it, and husband thinks it's an excellent idea to take the burden off me and let Mill name our newborn after his ex-GF. Now they're both mad because I had the excellent idea to take his name off of the baby's birth certificate and list myself as a single mother. Hi, 28 female. I had a difficult pregnancy from the very beginning. My husband Jake, 30 male, and I were excited about the baby, but my body did not handle the pregnancy well. I was constantly nauseous and had frequent dizzy spells, and was admitted to the hospital twice for dehydration. Still, I was doing everything I could to keep the baby safe and growing. Jake was supportive, or at least I thought he was. He drove me to appointments, brought me food, and even took over some chores. I did not realize that his version of support had limits until everything fell apart at the hospital. Jake and I had been married for 4 years. We met in college and things moved pretty fast. One thing that used to bother me was his history with his ex-girlfriend Lily, now 30, female. They dated for almost 5 years and even got engaged at one point, but broke up 6 months before he met me. He always said it was mutual and that they weren't right for each other. I believed him. But even after we got married, his mom, Carol, 56, female, kept mentioning Lily from time to time, saying things like she always thought Lily was the one for Jake, or that Lily had such refined taste in names and clothes. I let it go because I did not want drama. Jake assured me that his mom just liked Lily and that there was nothing to worry about. Fast forward to the day I went into labor. I was 39 weeks along and my water broke early in the morning. Jake took me to the hospital. Things got scary really fast. The labor was intense and I started bleeding heavily. The doctors rushed me into an emergency C-section, and during the surgery I lost a lot of blood. I had a hemorrhage and ended up unconscious. They moved me to the ICU right after the delivery, and I was told later that I almost died. I do not remember much about those hours. I was in and out of consciousness, hooked up to machines and on medication. Our daughter was born healthy, thank God. She was a tiny little thing, 6 pounds and 1 ounce, but her OPGAR score was perfect. And the nurses kept saying she was a fighter. Jake got to hold her first while I was being worked on. I had told him months ago that I wanted us to name her together, and I had a few names in mind, but we had not finalized anything. We had narrowed it down to 3 names we both liked: Nora, Hazel, and Aleliana. When I woke up fully for the first time, I was still in the ICU. My throat was sore and I could barely talk. Jake came in with a weird expression on his face, like he was nervous and excited at the same time. I was too weak to ask many questions, and he just kept saying I needed to rest and that the baby was doing great. I did not think much of it at first. I was just relieved that she was okay. It was not until the next day, when they transferred me to the regular maternity ward, that I got to see my daughter properly. The nurse brought her in and she had this little name tag on the bassinet. I blinked, thinking maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me. The name on the tag said Lily Grace Thompson. My heart dropped. I stared at that name for a long time. It was not one of the names we discussed. It was not a family name. It was not a name I had ever mentioned, but it was the name of Jake's ex-fiancée. First and middle. I honestly thought it was some kind of sick joke. When I asked the nurse if it was a mistake, she told me no, that the father had signed the birth certificate already, and that the grandmother had helped with the name since the mother, me, had been unconscious. I felt like I was going to throw up. Jake came in not long after that, holding a coffee cup like he had not done the most idiotic, disrespectful thing in the world. I could not even look at him. My voice was still weak and I was in pain, but I managed to ask him if he really named our daughter after his ex. He looked confused, like I was being dramatic. He said he thought it was a beautiful name and that it would have been too much pressure to wait for me to wake up and decide when I was so sick. Carol had suggested the name and he said he thought it would be sweet to go with it. Sweet, sweet. I nearly died giving birth, and in the tiny window of time when I could not speak for myself, he decided it was the perfect time to let his mommy name our daughter after his ex. Not just any ex, but the one she had always wanted him to end up with. He actually had the nerve to say he thought he was taking the burden off me. Like naming my own child was a chore. Like he was doing me a favor by stripping me of that decision. I was shaking. I was still on medication and could barely hold my daughter for more than a few minutes at a time. And yet there I was, forced to process this unbelievable betrayal. I could not even get up and leave. I was trapped in that hospital bed with stitches, bruises, and emotional damage. The nurses kept calling the baby Lily, and every time they did, I felt like I was being slapped in the face. Every mention of that name felt like I was being pushed further out of my own life. I did not get to hold her first. I did not get to name her. I did not even get the chance to be her mother without someone else inserting themselves into the role. Carol came to visit later that day with a smug smile on her face. She told me how happy she was that we chose such a meaningful name, and how she knew Lily Grace was destined for elegance and success. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the hospital remote at her, but I just lay there silently hating her and Jake both. What made it worse was how Jake kept brushing it off like it was not a big deal. He said I was being emotional, which, gee, what a surprise, happens when someone literally almost dies in labor. He acted like the name did not matter and that we could always change it later, as if it was just a placeholder. As if names did not have weight or meaning, as if it was not a reminder that he still held the torch for someone else, someone his mom openly wished he had married. I could not talk to anyone about it right away. My parents live in another state and they could not come immediately due to a snowstorm. My best friend had just had her own baby and was recovering too. I felt completely alone and powerless. When the nurse asked if I wanted to confirm the birth certificate info, I asked to make a change. I was not in the right headspace before and I did not want that name to be official. I filled out the paperwork to fix it and decided to remove Jake's name too. He had not acted like a father. He did not protect me. He did not stand up for me. And he did not care that his mom made decisions like she was the baby's mother. I checked the box to list no father and signed everything as a single mom. Jake barely visited while I was in recovery, and when he did, he acted like nothing happened. Like I should be grateful. His mom, Carol, showed up every day trying to control everything. She brought clothes, told the nurses what the baby needed, and referred to her as her Lily Grace. It was like I did not even exist. I'd never felt so erased in my life. Once I got discharged, Jake found out I changed the certificate and removed his name. He did not say anything right away, but I could feel his anger building. A few days later, he blew up. He said I embarrassed him, made him look like a deadbeat, and ruined what his mom had planned. He never once asked how I felt. He did not care that I'd almost died or that I was in pain. It was all about how it made him look. Carol was even worse. She left a long message calling me selfish, saying I ruined the baby's life by not giving her a complete family. She said I was punishing Jake and keeping her from her grandchild. She told me I was a bad mom for starting drama over a name. She completely ignored what they did to me. Jake only wanted to be involved again if I put his name back on the certificate, kept the name Lily Grace, and let Carol visit freely. That was not happening. I told him if he wanted rights, he'd have to go to court. I was not going to hand over anything to a man who had made choices for his mom instead of standing by his wife. He said I was being dramatic and acting like a single mom. So I told him fine, I will be one. At least I will be one who protects her daughter. I changed our daughter's name legally to Hazel Nora, the name I originally picked. It felt like taking back control of my life. It felt like claiming my baby as mine, not as some symbol of Jake's past relationship or his mom's fantasy. Now Jake is sulking and Carol's telling everyone I am unstable. Some of his family members think I overreacted, but none of them were the ones left bleeding out and unconscious while someone else made a permanent decision about my child. I am doing this alone now. It's not easy. I'm tired all the time and I'm still recovering, but I do not regret what I did. I look at Hazel and feel peace. I do not feel rage when I say her name. I don't feel like she was stolen from me. I feel like she's mine. Really mine. I know this will make things messier with Jake. He's already talking about lawyers, but I am not scared. I did what I had to do for me and for my daughter. So now I'm asking Ida for removing my husband's name from our daughter's birth certificate and listing myself as a single mother after he and his mom named our baby after his ex while I was in the ICU. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since I decided to legally change my baby's name and remove my husband's name from the birth certificate. I listed myself as a single mother and honestly, I did not expect everything to move so quickly after that. A lot has happened and I figured it was time to give an update. Jake had been telling our mutual friends that I was just being emotional and that I would come around in a few days. But when it became clear I was not changing my mind, he got angrier. Carol blew up my phone for days. I stopped answering after a few messages because it was just the same thing over and over. How I was ruining the family, how I was cruel, how I was hurting Jake. She never once asked how I was doing after almost dying in labor. She never mentioned Hazel except to say she was her granddaughter and she had every right to name her after someone meaningful. I guess to her Jake's ex-girlfriend Lily was still meaningful, even more than I was. Last week, Jake packed some things and left without saying much. He's staying with Carol now. I did not ask him to leave, but he made that decision on his own. I think he expected me to chase after him or maybe apologize, but I did not. I was too tired to deal with his ego. The silence was actually a relief. The apartment felt peaceful for the first time in months. I finally had space to breathe. Hazel and I started getting into a routine. She's a calm baby, thankfully. She wakes up every few hours but settles down quickly. I have been recovering slowly, both physically and mentally. I'm still sore, still exhausted, but at least I do not have to deal with someone making me feel like I do not matter. In the first few days after Jake left, I heard from a few of his cousins and a mutual friend. Some were clearly sent by Carol. They said things like, "Jake's heartbroken," and, "You're being unfair to your daughter by keeping her father away." Others tried to be more neutral, just saying they hoped we could work it out. I did not argue with anyone. I just said I was focusing on Hazel right now. That was the truth. I also started documenting everything. I kept copies of the messages from Carol, saved screenshots of her Facebook posts, and started a folder with anything related to the baby and Jake. I don't trust that he'll just disappear. If he wants to fight for custody, I want to be ready. Not because I'm scared, just because I know how messy things can get when people feel like their image is more important than the truth. Carol has been telling people I'm unstable. I found out through my friend who's still friends with one of Carol's nieces. Apparently, she made a whole post on Facebook about bitter women who destroy families and use babies as pawns. I am sure that was aimed at me. I did not respond. I did not even read it fully. I have blocked most of that side of the family. I do not need that energy. Jake hasn't reached out to see Hazel, not once. He hasn't asked for a picture, an update, nothing. The only message I have received from him since he left was a short text saying, "We need to talk about my rights." That was it. No checking in, no how's the baby, just about his rights. I replied once saying if he wanted to go through the court, he could. I wouldn't stop him. I haven't heard from him again. Hazel's name change was approved. Her name is now officially Hazel Nora. The name I had picked before all the drama. I can't even explain how much better that feels. Saying her name out loud makes me feel proud, not bitter or angry. It feels right. It feels like she's mine, not someone else's idea of what she should be. I know this isn't going to be easy. I have accepted that I'm going to be doing this on my own for a while, maybe forever. But it's not as scary as I thought it would be. I have had help from a couple of friends. One of my coworkers, who's also a single mom, dropped off some baby clothes and freezer meals. Another friend checks in every day to make sure I'm eating. Those small things have made a huge difference. I've also started journaling every night. It helps to get the thoughts out, especially on the hard days when I feel like everything's too much. There are moments I cry from exhaustion or just from the shock of how things turned out. I did not plan for this. I did not think Jake would turn out this way. But I'm also not as broken as I thought I'd be. I'm still standing. I am still trying. A few people have asked me if I will ever take Jake back, and the answer is no. Not after what he did. Not after how he allowed his mom to name our baby while I was unconscious, and then got angry at me for being upset about it. I do not trust him. And trust is everything when you're raising a child. I've also been thinking about what I will say to Hazel one day when she's older and asks why her dad isn't in her life. I want to be able to tell her the truth without anger. I want her to know I protected her. That I chose her name with love, not spite. That I wanted her to grow up with her own identity, not tied to someone else's past. That's what keeps me going when the days feel long. So, that's where we are now. Jake is gone. Carol is furious. Their side of the family is probably gossiping about me like I'm the villain in some dramatic soap opera. But Hazel is safe. She's fed. She's warm. She's loved. And I am here every day. I will update if anything major happens with Jake or Carol. For now, it's just me and Hazel. And for once, that's more than enough. Update 2. I honestly was not expecting to post again this soon, But something happened over the weekend and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. 2 weeks after Jake left to stay with his mom, and exactly 1 week after I got Hazel's name officially changed and listed myself as a single mom, he showed up at my door. It was early Saturday morning. Hazel was still asleep in her bassinet. I was sitting on the couch eating toast in my robe, hair a mess, absolutely not ready for any kind of drama. When I heard the knock, I assumed it was a delivery. Instead, it was Jake. I stood there in the doorway for a second, completely caught off guard. He looked rough. Dark circles under his eyes, messy hair, wearing the same hoodie he left in. He had this nervous, almost guilty expression on his face. He did not ask to come in. He just said he wanted to talk. I did not say anything at first. I think he was waiting for me to scream or slam the door. But I just stepped back and let him talk. He started by saying he messed up, that he had not realized how serious things were until I made everything official, removing his name, changing Hazel's name, cutting him out completely. He said the last 2 weeks without us made him think about everything he did wrong. He admitted he shouldn't have let his mom name Hazel, that he froze when the nurses asked and did not know what to do, and when Carol spoke up, he let it happen. He said he was scared and overwhelmed and thought he was doing the right thing. Then he apologized. Actually apologized. He said he was sorry for not defending me, for not protecting my voice when I could not speak for myself, for letting Carol walk all over me in the hospital, for disappearing when I needed him the most. He said he never meant to hurt me and he did not realize how serious it all felt until he saw his name was not on the birth certificate. He asked if there was any chance to fix it. I did not say much. I did not cry. I just listened. I think he expected a dramatic moment, but I did not have the energy for that. I told him Hazel was fine, that I was fine, that we were figuring things out without him. I did not say I forgave him. I did not invite him back. I did not even let him hold Hazel. He stood there awkwardly for a while and then asked if we could sit down and talk more. I let him come in, mostly because I wanted him to see that Hazel was okay without him, that I was surviving, even if he thought I'd fall apart. He sat on the edge of the couch, looked around like the apartment had changed without him. It had not. It just felt different now that he was not in it. He asked what he could do. I said if he really wanted to be in Hazel's life, he had to prove it. Not with words or apologies, but with actions. He asked if that meant lawyers. I said, probably, yeah. I was not going to open my door every few days and let him pop in and out. Hazel deserves better than that. I told him I'd be open to discussing a parenting plan, but only once he got therapy and started taking responsibility, real responsibility, not a sad speech on my doorstep. He said he understood. He asked if he could at least send baby supplies or help with bills. I said no for now, not because I'm trying to be petty, but because I need space. I do not trust him yet. He left when things got hard, and now he's back because the silence scared him. That does not mean he's ready to step up. He left after about an hour. He did not try to push me. He just said he'd check in and hoped I'd let him know when I was ready to talk more. Since then, he sent a couple of short texts. Nothing dramatic, just checking in. I haven't responded. I'm still processing. Carol, of course, found out and is now back in full force. She texted me a long message about how families fight and how I should focus on healing, not punishing. I did not even bother reading the rest. I blocked her again. I do not care if Jake is trying to change. Carol does not get a pass just because her son decided to act like an adult 2 weeks too late. Hazel is growing fast. She's smiling more. She recognizes my voice and calms down when I hold her. Those little moments make everything feel worth it. I look at her and think, I protected you. Even when it felt like the world was collapsing, I still chose what was best for you. I do not know what's going to happen with Jake. Maybe he'll really try. Maybe he'll disappear again. Maybe we'll end up in court. Or maybe we'll figure out a way to co-parent from a distance. Right now, I am not making any promises to him or to myself. I'm just keeping my focus on Hazel, one day at a time. If Jake wants to earn a place in her life, he can. But he has to understand that I am not the same person I was before. I am not the scared, exhausted woman lying in a hospital bed letting other people make decisions for me. I'm Hazel's mother, and no one gets to take that from me. That's the update for now. I did not expect Jake to come back and I definitely did not expect him to say all the right things, but I'm not letting words soften what actually happened. I will keep watching what he does, not what he says, because Hazel deserves a dad who shows up, not just one who says he will. Update 3. I didn't plan to post again after my last update, but this past week felt like the final chapter to everything that happened. It's been about a month since Jake showed up at my door saying he wanted to fix things, and now I know for sure I have outgrown him, this mess, and the idea of waiting for him to be someone he's not. After Jake visited, he kept texting every few days, just short things like, "Hope Hazel's good," or "Thinking of you both." Nothing too intense, but enough to show he was not going to vanish again. I stayed quiet. I did not respond. I needed that time to breathe. I was finally starting to feel like myself again, and Hazel was thriving. Every day I saw her smile or kick her tiny feet, I knew I had done the right thing by cutting out the drama and focusing on just being her mom. Then about a week ago, Jake asked if we could talk in person again. I said, okay. Not because I missed him or wanted to get back together, but because I wanted closure. I needed to say everything I never got to say in the hospital or when he walked out 2 weeks after Hazel was born. We agreed to meet at a cafe near my place. He showed up early and brought flowers. I did not take them. He looked nervous again, like he was not sure how this would go. I sat down, ordered a coffee, and told him we had 30 minutes, no games. He started by saying he had started therapy, just 2 sessions in, but he was serious about it. He talked about how he realized he had a habit of shutting down when things got difficult, how his relationship with Carol was way more controlling than he ever admitted. He said she always made decisions for him growing up, and part of him thought letting her name Hazel was normal, like it was just her helping. He said he now understood how wrong that was, that I should have been the only one naming our daughter, not his mom, and definitely not after some ex-girlfriend. He said he felt ashamed of how he handled everything, from the hospital to walking away to not defending me. I listened. I let him say all of it. Then I told him I appreciated the apology, but it was not enough. I told him I spent weeks crying, learning how to be a mom completely on my own, that he did not get to walk back into our lives just because he finally realized he made a mistake. I told him he lost my trust and it was not something that could be patched up with therapy and a few texts. I told him I did not hate him, but I did not love him anymore either. He sat there quietly, not arguing, just nodding. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. He asked if we could try again, not just as co-parents, but as a couple. And in that moment, I felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, not sadness. Just calm. It was like hearing someone tell me they missed a train I had stopped waiting for a long time ago. I told him no. I told him I had moved on, not with someone else, but with myself, that I was finally at peace, and getting back with him would only drag me back into the cycle of excuses, disappointment, and stress I fought so hard to escape. He looked hurt, but he did not argue. He asked if he could still be part of Hazel's life. I said yes, but only if he followed through with therapy, showed up consistently, and understood that this was now on my terms. No Carol, no drama, no last-minute visits. Just structure and boundaries. I told him if he wanted to pursue official custody or visitation, we could go through court. But if he wanted to earn a place in Hazel's life slowly, respectfully, and safely, I was open to working that out together with time, effort, and proof he meant it. He agreed. He said he understood. We finished our coffee in silence. Then I stood up, thanked him for meeting, and left. I did not look back. Since then, Jake has followed through. He sent me a screenshot showing he booked 4 more therapy sessions. He texted asking for photos of Hazel and asked if he could come visit next week, supervised, for a short time. I said I'd think about it, and I will. Not for him, for Hazel, because she has the right to know her father, but only if he proves he's safe and stable. As for me, life is quiet now, peaceful. I'm not crying anymore. I'm sleeping well, as much as a new mom can. I'm laughing again. I started journaling and walking Hazel in the park every morning. I even signed up for an online class just to feel like I'm doing something for me again. I do not need Jake. Hazel does not need chaos. And I am no longer holding space for someone who did not hold space for me when I needed him most. We are okay now. We really are. Thanks for listening to this roller coaster. I don't think I'll be posting again unless something major changes. But this feels like the real end to the story that started in that hospital room. The moment he let his mom name our baby after his ex was the moment I started losing myself. But now I have found myself again, and I am not letting go. Not for anyone.